So first and foremost, how you doing? You find everything good with you these days? And you said you're busy through Aberdeen and that.
Yeah, well, I work for Aberdeenshire Council in the residential care social work.
Yeah,
I've been there now 10 years. And away from football, it's the best job I've ever had.
aye.
Although it has its moments, obviously, it's a lot of difficult stuff and really sad stuff. But yeah, I've been off and on and throughout my career, football and residential social work's been my life. I started working at Andrew Thompson House in Elgin in 1986, I think. So I'm almost 40 years now on and off doing residential childcare. And, I've worked with hundreds of kids that came in and out of care, and I've worked with probably thousands of football players through management and playing. And so...
You got your two callings, Pele?
Well, it is, without a doubt. I genuinely enjoy my job, and I'm wearing on now, but I've no desire to retire because
you like it.
I don't think I'm too good with when I've too much time myself. I like being, a sense of purpose and that.
Aye, absolutely.
So yeah, I'm can't complain at all.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. Always go back to the start of my podcasts and my guests, Pele. My first question is always the same with everyone. How good a football player were you as a kid, and what age did you realise you had a wee bit of potential?
Well, I think it would be for other folk to say how good I was, but one thing I was, from a very young age, which I think would have been 4 or 5, I became absolutely, addicted personality to football and obsessed with it. And it was like the ball to me was just my God, do you know what I mean? And lived in a wee village, Mastodlich, and it just, that age, football became, the biggest part of out with my family home.
Aye, absolutely.
I remember, well, my memory's not the best, but, I'd play literally football from morning to night, whether that was on my own or with my mates or with whatever. And, that literally for the age of maybe 4 or 5 went right through to when I eventually left home, 16, 17, to go to Man U. Obviously when you turn, I think I joined the Elgin Boys Club when I was 10, and you started going into team football.
Aye.
I don't think we had a primary team maybe. I went to a wee Balnacool, was a little school with about 50 pupils, before the new school in Mastodlich was built. But I mean, for example, I would go, if I went in the shop for my mum, a ball would come with me, and I would play like 1-2s with my right foot off walls, go to the shop, and then I would play 1-2s with my left leg, go back. That's how I was very two-footed.
Yep.
Got it for a young age. At one point, when Mastodlich expanded, I think it was 1968, there was a huge housing scheme put in, but we called the building site. So obviously a lot of mere boys, and the primary school expanded, and obviously I then created more group things rather than just my individual stuff. And I mean, literally, Mastodlich it was like a sort of village version of Carrington training, in terms of improvisation. We built a 5-a-side football park on a gash piece of ground. We had a wall that we called this game Wally, which was basically you get one touch, say 10 you start the game, you batter against the wall, and who's second, bang, bang. So it was like really develop your skills in terms of one touch and both feet. I had a heading school inside a garage where it was headers, if you remember. I had a game with 2 little mini nets that was called Rootin' Tootin', which was nicknamed for shooting, and it was basically just shooting each other. I had a little arena in a hydroelectric bloody wire fence, which you shouldn't have probably been in, but turned it into a little 2v2 football. I lose count of Barry, which is a game the different parts outside 18-yard box you would practice hitting the bar. So
all sorts.
At a training camp in Mastodlich back in the late 60s.
That's what you need, Pele.
Yeah.
One of the names that pops up in your book, pops up quite a lot for your youth, is Roddy Munro.
Roddy was one of... Roddy was about 10 years older than me, but he was kind of ages with my brother-in-law, Donald Macaulay, who's married to my sister, Morrig. And I obviously kind of idolised them. And, you know, I remember I used to go, they were all at Aberdeen University, and I used to go and stay and have fun at weekends with, you know, albeit I was younger than them and underage, whatever, going to the pubs. But what we did every New Year, it was called January, it was January the 2nd, and it went on for about 20, maybe even 30 years. The group of lads at Donald and Roddy's age, who'd all went, you know, I'd say majority went to university in Aberdeen, Scotland. Every 2nd of January, we would play them, a 10-year younger group would play them in a game.
Okay.
And it was fantastic. It was actually better than Hogmanay for me. You know, we used to get piped, after the game, piped up to the Grant Arms.
Aye.
And we'd obviously do the 3 pubs. And it was just a fantastic, you know, it wasn't a sports, you know, the game was obviously good banter, but it was just the occasion, because a lot of guys were coming back at that time, you know, obviously, who now live out with Murrayshire and that. But
yeah,
it was a great annual, you know, celebration. And it's not that long finished. But Roddy was one of the key guys in that. Just one of the funniest guys I ever came across in terms of his wit, you know, his humour, his intelligence. You know, he was like a maths teacher, but worked high up in oil. But one of the most, you know, hilarious guys. Eccentric. He was a gifted musician, you know, played in the Cachs, which were quite a famous band at the Fobbers, what you call it, Roddy was influential in starting off, what's it called, by memories, just
the Fockbur's Fiddlers and all that.
No, aye, but the annual, this was recently.
Oh, the Spayfest. Yes, aye.
That's 66, this took a while to commute that. So Roddy was influential in establishing that, and I'm glad to see his memory carries on.
Absolutely.
Sadly, I think I'm right in saying 3 of the band, Joe Duncan, Charlie Glass, Roddy, have all sadly passed younger than they should have, and really fantastic musicians, but better even away from music, fantastic characters.
Aye.
And I would say Fobbers misses that kind of quality of guys, you know.
Yeah, brilliant. I think I know the answer to this, and I think a few people know the answer to this, but who's your football idol growing up, Pele?
Well, yeah, that's a no-brainer. It was 1966 World Cup that, you know, me and all my lads in the street, there was only one street, Garmouth Road at the time, but we all idolised Brazil, and one of my pals, Raymond Shewan, I think he was Garincha. He was a famous player. I was Pele. Funnily enough, nobody was an English player. There wasn't a Bobby Moore or Jeff Hurst, but we all adopted mainly Brazilian names, you know, and obviously seeing him, you know, in the 66 World Cup and become arguably still up there, well, if no the best ever in history, but equally with Maradona and, you know, that type, obviously the Ronaldos and the guys, you know. So he was my idol. So I was shooting high, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Was there anyone in the Scottish game that you kind of looked up to as well, Pele?
Nah, never really. I wasn't a big, you know. I watched Elgin City when I was a kid. I remember I used to thumb lips into Elgin, and I was like Jerry Graham,
Georgie Gilbert,
Willie Grant, Geordie Gilbert, Dougal Grant. That was kind of more my kind of heroes.
Yeah.
I remember games like, I think it was Arbroath, maybe about 1968 in Scottish Cup, 12,000 in Boroughbriggs. And,
fantastic, isn't
you know,
it?
winning, or, you know, had some great runs and had a fantastic team. So no, I was kind of City. I was also very proud of, you know, and I wouldn't say I've got a lean into Celtic because I'll become unpopular with some folk, but
not me.
I could name the 1968 Lisbon Lions team. You know, it was like, you know, Simpson, Gemmell,
Clark, Murdoch,
I could name that in 5 minutes, which was a great. I remember watching it in black and white TV, you know, in Mastaldic. So, yeah, that was kind of early influences, you know. Yeah.
Kind of before obviously we knew you got a big move to Man United, but you had a wee bit of time in the juniors, wee bit of time in the Highland League before that, Pele.
Yeah. Well, this is, it makes me laugh now when you see players, they play too many games in a season and burnout, blah, blah. I mean, my normal sort of weekend when I was about 13, 14, I would play for the school, the seniors in the morning, usually we used to hump Elgin Academy, which is 6-0. We had I don't know Boston, but we had a very talented team of lads. There was John Law, Mike Hendry, Dougie Will, Ainsley Gordon, Franny Slater, Les Newlands, all guys that were kind of my gang at school, but we had a great team. So we'd play for the seniors in the morning, play for Bishop Mill. Well, initially at 14, I played for Bishop Mill United. Mm-hmm. And then a Sunday we'd play for a forwards team that was run by a legend called Jimmy Shanks.
Yes.
It was a kind of Forwards Rockets, were a 60s, I think, welfare team. And Jimmy just run his own Sunday team, which we all played for, which was fantastic. But 3 games over a weekend was
nothing to you.
Par for the course.
Yep.
Par for the course.
And that's including training through the week and all that as well, Pele. Yeah.
Playing football up at the local park, or, back in the day there wasn't a social media and it was outdoors. I mean, as a kid, I'd be away. If I wasn't at school, I'd be out 9 in the morning to 9 at night, maybe pop back for my supper or about tea time. But, the outdoors, and it was fantastic childhood, and not just the football, just the, where I was brought up, you had the river, you had the sea, you had the forests, and we utilised them all for different activities, and it was fantastic. Fantastic kind of just natural growing up. And I feel sorry for the kids now that it's gone the way the social media seems to, and phones kind of rule everything. Don't get me wrong, we need our phones.
It's true though,
the culture and world's changed dramatically. It was a lot simpler when I was younger,
Do you think kind of that nice upbringing you had has always kind of drawn you back to the area as well, Pele?
Without a doubt. I mean, my brother-in-law Donald always says that Murray shares my comfort blanket, and I could have made a life out in Australia. I could have made a life probably in Japan, Hong Kong, England, Manchester. I lived 7 years in Manchester and still go down 2-3 times a year. I love Manchester. It's like my second home. My best pals are there. But throughout when I was wandering, playing overseas for about 5 years, I always loved coming home. Mm-hmm. I always, felt that I wanted to come back, and, I missed my family, I missed my friends, but just Murrayshire has always had I think folk maybe probably have lived here and never been anywhere else wouldn't have maybe, realise the beauty and the diversity we've got here in terms of outdoor stuff and, and quality of living,
Yeah, it's all on your doorstep.
Yeah, it's always had a big part of my heart, and obviously I live now in Elgin. But I love going, I've got a bucket list. I'm hoping to go back to visit my old haunts in Hong Kong and Australia, Japan. I was here in Norway for a while. I was, I've been far and wide,
Yep.
And like I say, I could have lived, well, no, I'll be honest, I'll probably be dead now if I lived in Australia, because the culture was just mental, social. It was Saturday night, every night of the week. And
yes.
Obviously I'm quite a social person.
Yes.
And I had to get out of there, and fortunately I got a fantastic move to Japan.
Yep.
But, I loved Australia, I loved Japan, but home is home, is where the heart is,
That's it, as always. Culture shock, joining Man United for the Highland League. What's a culture shock? How big a change is that, Pele?
Well, it was a big, sort of initial step in my young life. Obviously my first job, if you could call professional football a job, I didn't see it as a job. It was a pleasure, but my dad actually gave me great advice. Man U wanted to sign me at 16. Mm-hmm. And I had already came up after I played for Scottish schoolboys and down in England at Old Trafford and got man of the match and, a stack of clubs trying to sign me. But my dad said, no, I want you to stay on another year and do your higher. So that was when I look back, that was,
a good thing for you.
Wise advice, because I went on to go to Robert Gordon's college to do my social work training.
Yep.
When I was about 30. So fair play to my old boy, but equally, I was a real mummy's boy. My mum was obviously a wonderful woman and kind, and had a tremendous amount of love, and she was so much to me. And I cannot deny I was, it was a big step, big baby moving away to England. Tried all the way down, I think, in the car. That was just a kind of like a dream. So come on, going to Man United.
Exactly.
Again, that winning the European Cup, Georgie Best, Bobby Charlton. They were again massive. Probably they still are most glamorous team. Probably won the worldwide.
Yep.
So yeah, it was amazing, and to do that, and yeah, I can still remember my first year there at my digs. I lived in, I think it was Fallowfield area, Manchester, and every night, no mobile phones that day, 6 o'clock after my tea, I phoned my mum. And I wrote my girlfriend, Karen Anderson, who I'm still good pals with. She came down there and still lives in there, but I wrote her a love letter every night for a year, I think it was, and she wrote me every day I got a letter.
There you go.
So yeah, some great memories of the early, settling in period,
Yep, brilliant. Brian, have you got a question about Tommy Docherty, I think?
I was just interested to hear what Tommy might have thought of Mistolock when he came up to sign you, Pele.
Well, little did I know where my journey would go with Tommy Doc, because obviously I ended up in Australia with him, but I mean, that was Mistolock would never have seen such a celebrity coming into 10 Garmouth Road. They were staying at Rothes Glen Hotel. I think it's now a private house.
Okay.
But it was like the Gentry's fishing, shooting kind of hotel.
Right, one of those kind of places,
in the Rothes Elgin Road. They were staying there. And that was just incredible. And unfortunately, it was one of the things, it's obviously documented in my book, that the handing over a load of money, which obviously was cash, which I wasn't looking for, and my parents weren't looking for.
Yep.
But that was ultimately, hindsight's an easy thing, but, my mum and dad didn't take responsibility, and I shoved the equivalent of about 10 grand in I used Bisto tin and pushed it in my mum's cupboard, and that was my, expenses, and
that
was one of my, roads into the gambling, unfortunately, that I kind of succumbed to, and, was a kind of, always has been a bit of, I would have put it, a part of my character, that I wished I hadn't had, but hey, we've all got
our demons.
Weaknesses
and
demons,
we have.
But no, the doc was, I mean, what went on after, I could talk in this podcast for 2 hours about Tommy Doc. He took me to Australia. We became like best pals. It wasn't even like a father-son. It was like, we were like buddies. I used to pick him up to go to training, and, I used to babysit for his 2 lassies, the crack we had, the fun, the laughter, was just, he was like a kind of footballer version of Billy Connolly kind of thing, every day was just, the humour was fantastic. I mean, but again, he was like schoolboy behaviour, I'd be driving, I had a Beetle at that time, I think, a Volkswagen Beetle, and pick him up, and he'd be in the passenger seat, and we'd be passing beautiful birds, and he'd be honking the horn and giving rude gestures. Equally, would be going, and you would see some rogue type guys, and he'd honk a horn and give them the 2 fingers. He was just madman, but funniest guy I've ever met.
Yeah,
wonderful man for me. Obviously his career speaks for itself, and a tough guy, but what a character.
Yep,
what a character. He came up here as well to Lossie, and I remember he did what you call it, talking
dinner,
question answer,
yeah,
dinner.
thing.
That dinners.
Yeah.
Came up and did that, but no, I kept up with Doc well into his old age. He lived a ripe old age. I think it was 95. But yeah, just one of the finest guys, funniest guys as well that I came across and had. It was a privilege to be lucky to do that.
Absolutely. Okay. It's normally my favourite questions for ex-players, but I've got a question later on. It's probably my favourite for yourself, Pele. But who's the best player you've played with in your career?
It's really difficult.
You can give me a few names.
It goes back, I suppose, the era I played at Man United, which was 1975 to 81. There were so many fantastic players, although they'd come up with the second division just before the old second division, sorry, to what now would be the Premier League. And Tommy Docherty obviously was manager, and he got the sack 2 years later, more for off the field, which obviously was well documented. I used to be him and Mary. Well, little did I know I'd babysit for their kids in Australia years later. So Davy Sexton came in, and he was a great manager, got on great with him. And I kind of regret now that I did not stay put in Man U, because I had been offered I think it had been 5 years there, and I was offered a new contract, 3-year deal, but I kind of I knew that I was back then, I think it was like 2 subs, maybe, I can't remember, but there certainly wasn't the subs there are now. But I had the kind of, luckily, a gift that I was very good at centre back, centre midfield, centre forward. I was kind of utility.
Yep.
And an ideal subby to come on, which happened. I think I did about 6 appearances. I played a few first team games, but generally I came off the bench and I played left back, I played up front, played midfield.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have been a manager's dream as a subby. And in hindsight, I probably should have, I probably might have gone on to a long career at United, but I wanted to get playing every Saturday, which everybody wants to do. But sorry, I'm going way off track there. What was the question again?
Best player you've played with?
The best player. There's just so many that come to mind. That obviously everybody that played at the level at Man U, Martin Buchan, Gordon. I've mentioned a lot of them.
Yeah,
it coincides with my best players I played with. Team, that there was just so many. Stevie Coppell. The Man U team would have all been internationals, predominantly then actually Scottish, Irish, and Welsh. Okay, English, but there was Irish lads: Jimmy Nicholl, Sammy McElroy, Jerry Daly. There was, and obviously your Scots: Gordon McQueen, Martin Buchan, Joe Jordan. English, you'd Ray Wilkins. Lou Macari, another Scot. I'll lose count.
We go on for days. Yeah,
they were all top class players, and obviously after my career, I went to a lesser level. I played with internationals at Australia. I played internationals Hong Kong, Japan. I probably played against better players, and obviously maybe you'll hear a question of best players. I played against Uruguay in the Kirin Cup, which is an annual kind of Christmas Cup.
Yeah, I remember
that. It still goes, I think.
It does.
I actually scored against Uruguay. I might have scored 2. This is how bad my memory of my career is. Really,
you've got in your book
not good.
Pele, that you reckon that was the best game you ever played in your career.
Yeah, but I can't remember the score even.
3-2.
For us, or
you won 3-2.
Well, I think I might have scored 2 goals. And I think I wrote a story about. I remember getting Fergie. I don't know if I did put it in my book, but I gave him a copy of the video of Yumuri, us playing against Uruguay, and obviously I'd scored. In old days, it was these videos, and he'd sadly taken over when Jock Stein died. Suddenly,
yeah,
was caretaker for the '86 World Cup.
He was, yeah.
And I think I did a pre-season with him at Aberdeen or something after Japan. Anyway, I'd loaned him this video with Yumuri, my team against Uruguay, never got it back.
No.
I'm scared to ask for it. Yeah.
Okay, kind of.
That was obviously,
Yeah.
you know, and another great highlight, which again I'm probably jumping in before you ask me, was when I was in Japan. I actually played against Santos, Brazil.
Yep.
And I can honestly remember we got beat. I think it was 4-0. I was playing up front, and I must have touched the ball about twice. That was just a sensational Brazilian team.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it would have been all, you know, I can't remember, records would show, but that was just a, you know, incredible team. And it was so good because obviously Pele had played for it, you know, Santos.
Absolutely,
as a young player, you know, so that was a huge thrill, you know.
So I'm going to kind of scale down the next question for you, Pele. I'm going to...
Lee, go bring that mic a little bit closer, mate. There we go.
There we go. Who's the best player you reckon you've played against, direct opponent? Anyone that's given you, that sticks out in your head that you think I could not get the better of them?
There's one distinct player which I would describe more like a nightmare that I can't forget. When I was about 17, I'd made my debut against Sunderland at Old Trafford on the Wednesday night. And then I think I was in a league game, and then I think I played on the Saturday away at Leicester, and again I think we drew 1-1, and I was chuffed because I played against a great player, absolute fantastic character. Like, he was a fashion icon of football, a guy called Frank Worthington.
Yes, I
know, long hair, like a movie star, rock star more like. Frank wore some outrageously fashionable gear, but anyway, he was a fantastic player, and played against him, and I think I did a good job. You know, we drew 1-1. So, but then it all kind of fell to smithereens. I think about a week or two later, midweek, I think it was quarter final of the English League Cup. We were home to Everton, and I was told to man-mark a guy called Bob Latchford, who was like a bull.
We've had a few mentions of Bob. Yeah,
built absolutely beast, and he just rolled me and destroyed me.
Yeah.
In the air, in the ground, in terms of not so much his speed, but just his strength. You know, I was like still developing as a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
And he just, you know, swatted me away like a wee fly. And that really did, and we got beat 4-1 at home. And I think rightly, I think the doc took me out to get, you know, and it took me a while to come back, you know, to get back. I think my next full game was as a centre forward, which again, you know, not many guys do, but I kind of played centre back initially and then made appearances at centre forward. I remember playing away to Southampton and a few games up front. But I think it was probably 2 years later, you know, I really set me back, the Bob Blatchford doing that he gave me. And I think it also led me to think, I think I'll play further forward. I think I like creating, you know, midfield, or probably better even still, striker, scoring goals.
Absolutely.
Obviously. But it was all kind of central positions. I was kind of equipped. My build, and you know, I wasn't the quickest. I wasn't slow, but I'd be one paced, you know, but ideal for a big lad and that, you know.
Yeah.
Both 2-footed, you know, decent air. So
you'd fit in the modern game, Pele.
Ticked all the boxes. I did go into the modern game. That kind of maybe a wee bit. I actually didn't watch a lot of football now. I find that really a lot of it just this tippy-tappy for the back. Which a lot of clubs are players that are not capable of doing it. I remember when it maybe started at Caley, I might have allowed Bobby Mann or one of the two very clever passers of the ball to do it for the back, but we would never diddle-doddle, square, slow.
Yeah.
You know, their football was fast-flowing, direct. Not the long ball game. It was, you know, width, mobility, depth, width, mobility. Can always played with wide wingers. But it was a brand of football that got the supporters off their seat, you know.
That's what you want.
My game, my mindset as a manager was totally always go and win, score more goals. Never ever played for a draw. Never played. I think once in my career at Dufton, which was obviously when my career was as good as ended, I played with one striker.
Yeah.
I like playing with two up top, sometimes 4-3-3, but my brand of football, and it still would be if I managed, was We're here not just to score goals, to entertain. People pay good money and they want to see, end-to-end football. And I'm a huge believer in that. And I find some games would put me to sleep, you know what I mean? And,
Aye.
And they play this 20 passes out the back and then they'll lose possession and, eventually
starts again.
Whereas sometimes you play up a channel, you're more productive winning the second ball and blah, blah. But that's maybe old school, but I've got, I don't find it, that I go, I'm going to wait to watch so-and-so tonight. I'm quite honest, I prefer watching the PGA golf, I think, There's a more skill to it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there you go.
Aye, football it's become very robotic these days.
I think the punters get, the money that, especially at the higher level, you pay and, you want to see action,
You do. You do.
That's the way it is.
I agree, mate. It's, everyone wants to play like Man City these days and only Man City can play like Man City.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right, I'm going to fast forward a little bit, Pele, because I know you've played in Australia and you've played around the place a bit, but you were actually one of the first 2 European players to play in Japan. Did you know that at the time?
Yeah, but it didn't really kind of, put me up nor down, kind of strangely when I look back in my career and, my biggest disappointment was that it was never, not that I'm looking for acknowledgement, but it was never, because again, the way how TV and media, social media, blah, blah, coverage and that, it just it was never a big thing, and I think, when I look back, I think, again, my memory, I know my second season won the treble, we won the league, the League Cup and what was called the Emperor's Cup, the equivalent of the Scottish Cup, Equity Cup. I remember scoring in the final, I think 100,000 at the Tokyo Olympic Stadium, whatever. But, it was just a silent, it was just, because again, I suppose it was so detached, Japan for Europe and obviously Scotland and the UK. It just, I wasn't any news, but so my best parts of my career went kind of unknown. I was top scorer in the National League of Japan as well. I probably could have ended up staying there a lot longer. I loved Japan, but equally I was missing my family and my friends and back home. But it went under the radar. And, I remember getting my Emperor's Cup medal for the Emperor of Japan, you know what I mean? Which, is just not many boys who, from Stalbrook can boast that, But, a lot of my kind of tales are pretty unique, in terms of the fact that I'd went and...
How did it come about? Were you approached or were you looking into it yourself? Or
Well, no, I was playing obviously in Australia and banging the goals in there, in a really good season under the dock. And he had it was a guy, Rudy Gudendorf, who was the manager, and he was on the hunt for a big European striker, and came over, I think, and anyway, the agents got involved and they flew me across before the end of the Australian season, actually, and signed a contract, 2-year deal, fantastic money, fantastic, club car, beautiful apartment, just like a kind of superstar.
Aye.
That I acted like one, but it was fantastic the way that I was kind of received there, and but again, a bit of a myth. A lot of people, you must have been a giant among all these Japanese. I mean, the Japanese have obviously maybe were a kind of wee bit, how would I say, less tall race going back in time, but modern Japan, all your centre backs were 6 feet odd,
yes,
big lads. There was a lot of Brazilian players at the time. Predominantly, it was Brazilian, rather than Marcel and Vera and Simonic, the Croatian lad who was a goalie. He spent the first year, he went away after a year. But I spent the two years there, and just an amazing, I look back and it's kind of hard to well, I don't remember good anyway, but it was just like a, amazing experience, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you take anything away for your time in Japan, Steve? Did you?
Oh, I take a bit of regret, and same with Australia. I was loved up in both Australia and Japan.
Find that in your book.
There was no mobile phones, and well, let's just say, you know, I kind of moved on, but you know, lovely girls and that. And as you get older, it's funny how I'm kind of single now through my own doing, like, but you think, well, I wonder where they are now or whatever, you know what I mean? I tell you, I was really close to my Japanese lassie. She was a beautiful girl, but no, I would just love to go back. I'd love to go back someday and kind of retract my footprints, kind of hang out Japan and Australia, and not so much Hong Kong. I think it's changed. Obviously, it's under Chinese rule now. It was British rule when I was there. And again, I had about 4 or 5 lads from Glasgow, Edinburgh area that shared a flat with, who I've never seen really since. And we all played for Hong Kong Rangers, and we had fantastic fun when we were there. Yep. Obviously, you can imagine 4 or 5 Scotsmen sharing a flat.
Oh, it could be some parties.
We used to train actually about 7 in the morning because of the heat, but we had a ball, like, you know, absolute ball. Fantastic stories for there, but no, I was equally Australia. I mean, I lived in Sydney, and it was just an amazing city, and obviously Tokyo goes with it there. And I've been very lucky. I mean, although my career ended sadly in England with Man U, which in hindsight, you know, I wish maybe had went on a different path, but I was kind of compensated with an amazing journey. That, you know, was probably will never be done again. You know what I mean? So I count myself lucky. You know, and I'm not one to complain generally anyway. You know,
no, not at all. Your return to Scotland, you hit the ground running, Steve. You went on a wee bit of a tear. Your playing career returned to Scotland.
I worked in Joanna's.
newly opened Joanna's.
I was training manager at Joanna's for about a year. Jesus, that's when I met my wife, my ex-wife Mandy.
Is that when you didn't used to stick to? Is that when you didn't used to stick to the carpets? Like,
well, I was honestly opened a bit then, and I think I spent a year. My God, I had to get away from that job. It was open back in the day. Wednesday was grab a granny over 40s, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 5 nights a week, and it was fortune, magic. But no, it wasn't good for the old baby, like.
No,
I was playing with, I think I was at Forest Mechanics at the time.
Yeah, I've got that in my notes.
But I think I was 6 months at Joanna's. Then I went, I think it was Andrew Thompson House, my first job in residential. Happened to be then, you know. But no, I mean, then after my journey, you know, I was so glad to be back in home soil and back with my pals and my mum and my family, you know what I mean? Yeah. Back in my comfort blanket in Murrayshire, you know. You know, I'd been travelling mainly for probably best part of 5-6 years, you know. Yeah. You know? No, but no regrets. I mean, I'd like to say I've been very lucky and privileged with the places I've been and seen, you know.
Absolutely. Steps into management, so player manager role for a wee while at Elgin. Did you pick? I'm always interested with the player manager thing, because do you ever pick yourself, Steve? Do you think I can do a better job than these lads, or?
Well, I think I did pick myself. I wasn't. I think I would still be. I became. I think it was 1988. So I would have just turned 30. I think the thing, just again, I don't want to go into that. I was involved in a bad road accident which did a lot of damage to my body in terms of I was never a same player again after that. You know, especially my left side, my shoulder, knees, ankles, and I'd kind of lost not that I'd pace, but it was just. I just know that my body had become more fragile. You know, although I kicked on for another 3-4 years and won things and loved the game, you know, but that did traumatise myself physically, a help a bit. Sadly, you know, taxi driver lost his life, but, you know, I was lucky and but the player manager, it just kind of seemed a natural step, you know.
Aye.
It became kind of fashionable. Graham Souness at Rangers. I think there was a few teams that
Kenny Dalglish and things.
Yeah, it was, and you know, I had 1988, I turned 30, and I enjoyed every aspect of football. And I think I'd started going to Largs to do my badges and that as well. You know, so I just saw natural progression, with the game that I loved and that I was obsessed with for 5-year-old, whatever. It would just be my life, which it probably has been. It would be my destiny to be, you know, a football coach or manager, you know, whatever, just involved in the game, because it was my life and loved it and still do, and you know, that was just natural progression, and ended up having 2 fantastic years with Elgin City, who were my boyhood team. That I'd actually made my debut for them at 15, scoring, I remember, against Bucky Thistle, won, I think 6-0. And I remember playing with Jerry Graham and Jody Gilbert, and I don't think Willie Grant was still playing then, but you know, it was just, that was a, you know, a big thrill, you know, play at Borough Briggs, you know, and score on my debut, like, you know.
You were trophy laden at Elgin as well, first couple of seasons.
Just again, I think, I wouldn't have called it luck, but you sometimes walk into a situation, and I suppose I could compare it to Alex Ferguson with Man United, you know, when that era, you know, the golden era, what they call them,
the class of 92.
Class of 92.
Yeah.
Well, I had a class of 88.
Yeah.
I mean, which is incredible when I look back and think, literally, I think 9 of the starting 11 were for Elgin.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, you know, how would you ever replicate that? So, call it lucky. But I still think, I proved after I would be successful anyway, but it was a great thing for the town to be able to, you know, recognise and kind of, well, we'd be drinking with the fans at night, you know, we'd be up the high street in the White Horse and you name it, doing the, you know, Joanna's and that, and it was just great that I think it was a carload, 3 or 4 for Aberdeen, 3 or 4 for Inverness, but, you know, I could almost name the team, you know, I'm sure it was, off the top of my head, right, and I don't want to forget him, but it was like MacArthur, Ian MacArthur, you could say Chico McCarty, Davy Moan, Sweeper, Neefy, McLennan, back 4, Russell Mackay, Mighty Teasdale would have been in midfield somewhere. I would have been up front. You had John Teasdale. I'm trying to think. John McGinley had actually moved to Elgin at one point.
Yep.
The young guy, Graham Bowie, my brother Pep, was on the books. You know, we're talking
it's one of the names.
Like I say, I hope I'm not forgot MD. Like there was Marco De Barris, obviously was for Elgin, but F.A. Lossie, sorry.
Isn't he for Portugal?
Well, yeah. Well, no, the island off it.
Aye.
Madeira or whatever. But
one of the players I was going to ask you about, Pele, was John.
He'd be one of Ronaldo's mates.
Aye.
Probably Ronaldo just now, you know, having a beer.
One of the players I wanted to ask you about was John McGinley. Just how special a boy was he at a young age?
Phenomenal. Again, John McGinley is a great, role model for footballers especially footballers that maybe have been at clubs and got rejected and get their heads down. I think John was 21 when he came to Elgin.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, round about there. And I'd played with him at Nairn County, coincidentally, in 1981.
Yep.
When he was a young lad and I was a young lad. I'd obviously went on to Man U. I think John had went to New Zealand and that. And I remember him, he was the most, well, back in the day, it was different, how do you put it? I'll put it this way, John would walk into the dressing room about 1:45 with a black pudding supper or a fish supper, scoff it and go out and score 3 goals, you know, this was a young lad, man. And then when he came back to Fort William, whatever, he'd played down south, maybe non-league, and I got him Elgin, but Jesus, he was just a phenomenal finisher. Equally, John Teasdale, again, he might pop up. John was a fantastic player and finisher. But John McGinley was just he went on, obviously, to play for Scotland and involved in, I don't know, not far off £1 million transfers, I think, Bolton to whatever.
Yep.
But he is finishing, and the thing that annoyed me, and again, I think I maybe documented in my book, was when I think it was Neil McNeil was manager of the Scout or something. When John went, we sold him for about 25 grand.
Yeah,
who was it again? A small England team, League 1 or 2.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
Anyway,
yes.
Cut a long story short, I try to get a wee bit involved, but back in the day, it was a committee, chairman, and the boardroom, and manager wasn't his job to be interfering. But I had said, and it just started to come out, I said, should get a clause, you get this guy sold, get a sell on 50%, which they would have done greatly because it was a win-win for both clubs.
Absolutely.
And that might have went on, like, they might have still had a share when he went on to his further. I know at one point he got transferred 750,000, which would have been a windfall for the club.
That would have been unbelievable.
That's just a wee story off the record. But that was, John was phenomenal finisher, McGinley, and obviously went on to play for Scotland. But again, a great role model for laddies that, some players develop, and you see it in England, the boy Vardy, played non-league teams in his 20s. You keep at it, you keep playing, and who knows what your path's where it's going to take you to.
Yeah.
So he's a kind of example of that.
Okay, probably one of the hardest questions for you, Pele. Who do you reckon's the best player you've ever signed in your career? What's your best signing you've ever made? Any club? Because I've had Ian Stewart come up quite a few times. Yeah, and
honestly, when you've been in management like about 30 years and you've managed great teams, eras like Elgin City, Huntley, Inverness Caley, that was okay. The main success for me, but there was just so many, outstanding players that I could get. I don't like, because my memory's absolute crap, and
you feel like you're missing Falcout.
I wouldn't do that, but jumping off the page, you would say, Martin Stewart and Huntley was. John McGinley we've already spoke of.
Mm-hmm.
John Teasdale did great for much, but John was coming a bit off of the back of Bean, I think, Wolves.
Yeah.
He was on a different kind of path. Martin Stewart could have played, no problem, Premier League. Didn't know where to go. I mean, Martin's nickname was Local Loon. And a great lad he is. Fantastic lad, Martin. But I remember I can't remember if he went and trial to Dundee United or he spoke to Aberdeen, I'm sure, and funnily enough, they didn't come in for it. Martin could have played top level at Premier League, no bother at all.
Aye.
But he was he loved he was happy, loved Huntley and his job as a joiner or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Just one of these genuine lads, down to earth. And hey, I respect him, but yeah, he could have went a lot higher. And I think I did just nick him for Elgin City because I'd got wind about him, this 17-year-old, and I got on the
he
case.
Told us that story.
I got on it right away initially I went to Huntley as a player, and under Joe Harper, when Joe got the bullet, I obviously was, I think, there to be manager kind of thing, and no disrespect to Joe, but the first thing I did was get on the case of Martin Stewart. He ended up a Huntley legend and could have played at easily Premier League level,
That Huntley team you had was something else. Pele, you had like some Martin, you had Gary White.
Don't get me wrong, we had a good budget, but we'd earned that with good Scottish Cup runs.
Aye,
fair play to Forbes Strand. He put the money back out to get good lads like
You speak very fondly of him in your book, Forbes.
Me and Forbes have been friends right through the years, and Forbes was great. He used to take my great holidays to Spain, to his villa, and play golf with his pals, and it was, fantastic times. But it was again, I get very attached to teams. I mean, I never looked to leave Elgin, really, and then Huntley, the calling came for Inverness, I had to do it. Loved Inverness, calling came, I kind of had to do it. But, I'm quite a loyal, job I'm in now. I've been 10 years, and I was never looking to aspire, I just was enjoying my life. I was at Huntley, Elgin, social work at the time, working in kids in care. I had no sort of huge ambitions, you know what I mean, as a manager or coach, but obviously I had a talent, a knack, and putting teams together and playing I'd like to think exciting, football for people to watch, and as I say, I've too many memories. I pulled out some great gems at Caley, again.
Well, we'll not speak about the Scottish Cup just yet.
No, but players that, obviously, and that's what I do apologise to him.
One of the things I noticed looking through is you're quite loyal to players as well. Probably like there's players that you'll take from clubs to up the divisions with you, like Inverness and that.
That's more. I think a bit loyal. That's a bit because I know they're
good players,
damn good, and what I'm getting and what they can do. I'm loyal. But equally, probably the worst part of my job was when I had to release guys that I was really fond of. And I was always close to my players, which I don't think you could do so much now. I mean, I was one of the boys in the back seat in the carrier and playing cards, and and that would be certainly professionally it would be frowned upon. But I saw myself as one of the boys because I initially came in as a player manager.
Aye, that's it.
I always found to detach with that.
It's hard,
and I do like a night out, as you know what I mean. And I do miss the dressing room and the banter and the fun tremendously. But most players I took along, it wasn't so much loyalty as they're better than the level they're at.
Aye.
And there's guys that have refused to come with me, and Martin Stewart being a prime example. But I've been very lucky. We having quality teams that, I would have signed half my team at Inverness Caley for Aberdeen, but my budget wouldn't allow me.
Aye.
Barry Robson's a prime. I wanted to sign Barry. Barry was, I did, later, and whether it's in my book, we could offer 600 quid was my top. Barry was getting offered $2,000 for Dundee United. Barry, later,
Yeah.
Went on to have a great career internationally. Would have been a fantastic player.
Do you find it ironic he ended up as Aberdeen captain?
Well, no, but I'm just saying, I made a mess of Aberdeen, and there's no doubt about that, and it was a disgrace in a lot of accounts there, but it was a extremely challenging job with absolute no budget to get to where I would have liked to have went, you know what I mean? But that's a different, I don't dwell on that. It's,
no, absolutely.
But I've been fortunate to, I think I always had a good eye for a player, and I like lads that are loyal. I like guys that are straight up and, basically no sulkers or, and I've left most of my boys in good terms, shake hands. I've had great lads like, I remember boys like the late Alan Hercher, who was a brilliant lad, Davy Ross, I was a player from at Caley, and boys like that, Jimmy Calder, Ian MacArthur, when we didn't go full time, we kind of shook hands and sort of, they thanked me and I thanked them, and it was just so kind of emotional, but just so true spirit of, the game,
Yeah, absolutely.
We've had a great winning things together. It doesn't last forever, and time, to jump, to pastures new. So I've been fortunate with that. And I've loved all all the guys I played with have been, you know, I've always liked to, probably too much so, maybe being a man manager, you know. But that's just how I was. I was very...
Got your own way to do things, Pele, and that's the way to do it, you know. Would you reckon the Huntley 5-in-a-row team was probably the best one of your teams has played in your career? Because you guys were unstoppable for that 5 seasons.
Yeah, I think that team was, you know, given the history of Huntley, you know, being obviously a wee town, in my day, growing up, it was Elgin City, Caley, Inverness Caley, Inverness Thistle.
Yeah.
You know, Lucky Thistle had eras, but Huntley had never had a era.
Aye.
And they dominated the 90s?
90s, yeah. Only 90s. Nobody's ever done it, you know, before or since.
Amazing. It'll never be done again. And, I'm proud of that. And I've got the most fantastic memories of my days there, you know.
Yep.
The love of the club, you know. And equally, same with Inverness, had 7 glorious years there.
Yep.
Didn't know where to leave, to be honest with you. Didn't know where to leave Huntley. But, you know, unfortunately, it was when you be successful, it alerts clubs, and, you know, sometimes you have to, I suppose, move forward. But
you do, aye.
You know.
The Football Journals is partnering up with the Football Hub. Si over at the Football Hub does great work, bringing coaches, drills, seminars, thousands of hours worth of coaching resources, knowledge. His TikTok videos are great. You can find Si and the guys over at the Football Hub at the-football-hub.org. That's the-football-hub.org. Check them over. They're offering a 30-day free trial. Honestly, I've checked them out myself. I've been using a couple of the drills in my own sessions. The guys are unbelievable. Give them a shout. Si's always on offer as well to offer personal advice, as well as a 30-day free trial. They offer individual packages for clubs, players, coaches, clubs. They'll offer grassroots club plans, pro club plans, a lot. Give them a check out, guys. Okay, Pele, I'm a Celtic fan. I'm going to ask you about Super Caley Go Ballistic. Celtic are atrocious. What's your memories of that night? What's your team talk initially? Sorry. You know, I know you're not the kind of guy that'll play for a draw or pray to try and keep out. Are you telling your boys to go out and attack?
I can remember the kind of lead up. Obviously, when we drew them, you know, it was a dream come true.
Aye.
We'd previously played Rangers at Caley Thistle. Played them at Tannadice against.
Right, okay.
I'm pretty sure a couple of years before, or was Rangers after? I think Rangers was before.
Okay.
I remember it was a great Rangers team, Ali McCoist and.
Yep. That would have been before Viduka and that, yeah.
And we played them. I think I'm right in saying I think it was Tannadice,
right?
Because we couldn't accommodate, you know, stadium or whatever. I don't know if we were still at Telford Street. But anyway, that was a fantastic occasion. I think
Lee, can you just adjust Steve's mic for him, please?
I think we lost 3-0.
Perfect.
Gaza was playing, I think.
Yeah.
Sure he was. And the boys were all scrambling for shirts and blah, blah. But probably the same with the Rangers game in the Scottish Cup. Same with Celtic game. The lead up was obviously everybody's buzzing. And training was basically Celtic supporters against Rangers supporters kicking the fuck at each other.
I love that.
That was our tactics. Basically, Charlie Christie would be captain of the Celtic crew. Jimmy Calder was a big Rangers guy.
Yeah.
I think Bobby Mann was a big Rangers boy. Anyway, that was the preparation. 7-a-sides, Celtic supporters against Rangers supporters, fuck at each other. And that's no joking, by the way. But, you know, we were never over technical. We did a lot of, you know, we played with possession games, we're blah blah, but we were never over technical. And, you know, in my mind, football is a simple game, and you should know your position. And always wanted an exciting team to watch myself. But no, leading up to Celtic, it was just obviously the media circus was
Yeah,
fantastic for the club. And, you know, we were on the rise. I think we went through League 2, League 1.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, doing well in the Championship as it is now. And I think the biggest disappointment was we'd prepared in the game. I'm right in saying again, I think the game was cancelled on the Saturday, which was due to the wind take the roof off or something. You know?
Not good. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, I realised when we went back to play it, I think it was a Tuesday night, might be a Wednesday, but we'll go for Tuesday. Then we went down, and the professional thing to do with players, which I did at Man U, you know, you'd, if you're an evening game, you'd have maybe a wee loosen up in the morning, have your lunch, and players would basically go to their rooms after lunch about 1 o'clock and probably sleep, whatever way you're relaxed in your room, maybe 1 o'clock to 4, 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
You know, that was professional. So yeah, being the professional, you know, that I was, said to boys, right, you've got a choice. How do you want to put in your afternoon? So basically, you go to your room, chill out on your, I think it was whatever machines it would be then.
PlayStations or something, yeah.
Or I'm going to Willie Hills. I'm going to have a few punts to relax in the afternoon. So I think it was 4 or 5 came with me to the bookies.
Yeah.
Basically watched the racing all afternoon, went back, ready to go to Parkhead. And then the whole any team I've had, I mean, we played big games at Huntley against Dundee United, I think, at home. Had some great scalps away from home. But we've always approached in a positive, positive approach that we can win it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I still believe in that. If you're brave, you know what I mean? And playing for a draw has never been my tactics or policy. So we were all up for it. Had a talented team. You had good, you know, lads that wouldn't have bottle it. Would thrive in the Charlie Christie's, Barry Wilson's, Bobby Mann's, Jimmy Calder's, to name a few. I knew they would absolutely love the occasion. So we were all bang on. Hey, play as usual. No different tactics. I think it might have been 4-4-2 at the time, or another 3-5-2, but it would have been attacking, wide players attacking, no caution. So anyway, it so happened Celtic were going through a difficult period themselves, transition. Yeah. I think I'm right in saying Kenny Dalglish and
John Barnes. Yeah.
So the rest is history. I mean, we took that game to them. I think we deserved to win. Equally, I think when I've occasionally seen snippets, Jimmy Calder had an amazing night as a Rangers fanatic would against Celtic, and being the character Jimmy was, winner. And Charlie Christie, Barry Wilson, I mean, Bobby Mann, they all absolutely thrived in the occasion. And, you know, I think replay the game, best team won, you know?
Yeah.
And at half time, it was, hey, boys, more of the same. I think we're winning 1-0 or 2-1. Let's no sit in this, let's go for another. And that was always my tactic. Never, ever played for a draw. When we were leading, wanted more. When we were getting beat, even by 2 or 3, still in the game, keep attacking, keep believing. And I turned a lot of games. I remember Scottish Cup against Ayr, we were 3-0 down, came back 1-4-3, did it with Huntley. You know, and that again attributes a playing a non-risk style of football. The game's about scoring goals, winning games. Mm-hmm. And that's no gung-ho, it's brave and it's great for the supporters. They'll flock to watch that brand of football. And, you know, that's what's, don't get me wrong, there's great teams just now, but what I see, there's not a lot of great games to watch. It's, you know, gets you off your seat.
Aye.
You know, it's a lot of caution, it's a lot of negativity, it's a lot of stats. Oh, that player made 80 passes, Aye, fucking 5 yards apart. You know what I mean? I could do that at my age now, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not knocking the game, I'm just saying, I just think it it could open up a bit more to be a much more enjoyable
Spectacle.
watch for the people that support it. You know?
Mm-hmm. No, you're bang on the mark with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Go bring the mic.
Yep.
Closer.
So, and it's just because I'm turning, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And then I just kind of want to see it block the bottom of your chin from the camera. So can you bring it any closer?
That better?
Yeah.
Okay. Aberdeen and beyond, Pele. Kind of, we know what happened at Aberdeen, but I want to speak about beyond, because you went to Forest, you went to Dufton, you had a few wee stints here and there. That question is going to tie into another question that I've got for you. And the question would be, and it came from actually one of the viewers of the podcast, and is, if you had a good young coaching staff around you, would you give management another shot?
That's a good question. I wouldn't go back to Dufton. I love Dufton, by the way. Great fun there. Dougie, Alan Murray, Mo, Dougie McCormick, fantastic club. But it did, how would I put it, kind of, I think, tell me my time was was up. Just a quick, my favourite story I've got to say for Dufton was on a Wednesday night, I think we trained Monday, Wednesday, always had to ask the players, end of train, right, with a squad of maybe 18, 20, who's not available Saturday? And it would be, hands up. And this was a shock to my system. Boys going, I'm going to Elgin City Hospitality. I'm going down to watch Celtic. I'm going down to Rangers. And, my mentality, as I say, when I was a kid, I was playing 3 games a weekend.
Aye.
And playing was all
of us.
Who wants to go to hospitality at the age of 20? Anyway. So there were some cracking excuses. Oh, I'm going to hit the girlfriend. We're going to blah, blah, which I'm old school. And the one that took I'll never forget, this lad, and fortunately I can't remember him, some of the Dufton boys might, put his hand up and he says, Pele, I can't make it, no. I've got to bake my granny a birthday cake.
Okay.
There and then I stood in silence, and inside out my career ended that night. Is this what it's come to? But no, I had a great time at Dufton. Loved it. Great guys, Alan, Dougie, Big Motor, to name a few. Yeah. Lads were great fun, great club. But I think now I'm kind of in a job I really, I'm grateful to be still working at my age. And I'm a sado, I love my work. I get a lot out of my work. It's good for me, I know that. Sense of purpose. I've got some bad habits, as people would know. So it keeps me, what's the word?
Keeps you ticking.
Keeps me ticking, and I behave myself.
Aye.
But in terms of football, I think the game's changed a lot. Well, everything's changed in life. But I think I had such a long, varied but wonderful experience in football, playing and managing, that it'd be hard to kind of find what I had, if you know what I mean.
Aye.
Like everything in life comes to an end, and don't get me wrong, I'd like to be involved in some capacity, maybe, and I love going up to Caley, meeting with Charlie Christie and Graham Bennett, Grasser. I've not been back to Paterson in my life, which is understandable, because I'm ashamed of that episode. But, Huntley, Elgin, I was at Elgin a couple of weeks ago, enjoyed it, loved to see the manager playing and Alan Murray doing good, and playing what I saw as a good brand of football. I'd go back.
Really good.
Intend to go back. But I think I've had my day. I would like to maybe coach younger guys. God willing, I'll certainly be writing about my wee grandson, Colin. Colin's going to be having my daughter, Jessica might not like it, but he will be getting a football when he's about 2 or 3.
Aye.
And he's got the look of a player to me. But put it this way, you never know in life. I'm fortunate. I feel I'm pretty fit for my age and stage of life. And I would like some involvement to go back I think my professional career ended at Aberdeen, and rightly so. I think I was heavily punished for that, and rightly so. And that was a big period of, a black period in my life in a lot of different senses. And nobody to blame but myself. And equally as a player, I think as a player I could have achieved a lot more. I think I probably could have played maybe, and I'm not boasting, possibly for Scotland. I'd played for the under 21s at the age of 17. Had I maybe stuck in and been more dedicated rather than some bad habits off the park, that might have been the case, and a better, maybe not as colourful and travelling like and fortunate as I was, but that could have been better. And it's funnily parallel management. I think I could have went on for a lot longer at a higher level. I'd always fancied going back down to manage in England, and I mean the Caley one, I'd already turned down Dundee United, and they'd offered me a great deal, better than Aberdeen, and it was kind of pressure felt with, Pele, you can't, you've got to go, and I would probably have still be manager of Caley Thistle now, you know what I mean, in some sorts. I think in hindsight's a great thing. I probably should have held out to see the journey, which for day one, Dougie McGilvery, he was the chairman, said to me, Pele, we're giving you, I think it was a whatever contract, I think it was 3 or 4 years, but this is the demand. You get out of the second division, you've got 2 seasons. You get out Division 1, you've got 2 seasons. You get out the Championship, you get 2 seasons. And basically, I'd achieved all of them, and I was on course to achieve Championship to the
SPL
Premiership.
Yep.
And I wouldn't say I regret, but in hindsight, I think I should have seen out that journey, and that would have been mission accomplished. I now go to pastures new, and probably my choice then might have been down to England. Whether it be somewhere like Salford City or a team around Manchester where my best pals all live. That might have been, but hey, we can all rewrite the script.
We can. Out of your 40-year career in football, Pele, what's your proudest achievement?
40 years, sorry.
40.
Again, there's been a multitude of fantastic times and achievements. Obviously there's unfortunately, we all know about the badding, but it's hard to just put one, I would, obviously as a player, signing for Man United.
Yeah, it's huge.
On like a 3-year deal with the Somas, I think I was actually fast tracked to professional. I was that good. I didn't have to do an apprenticeship.
Aye.
To a wee lad for a little humble village, and was still looking to go to that was kind of mind blowing. Although I think I dealt with it fine, and cherish it. But that was obviously, and then out of that, obviously making my debut, I remember playing against more or less the Italian national team in Turin when Juventus were. When Juventus were European champions, they were 10 of the team, I think, played in the Italian World Cup team.
Yeah.
And I played, I came on as a sub, I think at Old Trafford and in Turin. That was just mind blowing, that kind of stuff. And then just moving on, things like, obviously my success in Japan as a player, which sadly, it was never seen by any of my parents or my family or my friends because it's so far away. It was never documented, really. It was never on TV. There's a sad element to it, but
there is, yeah.
Obviously it happened, and it's a massive. As a player to be arguably one of the best in that country and win every title and win the top scorer, blah blah, was amazing. I think other achievements as a player, I suppose playing for Scotland under 21s. I played in Prague for the 21s against the then Czechoslovakia.
As a 17-year-old as well.
Yeah. So I was on track to, maybe go the whole way. But so that was all, proud achievements and that. And I think as a manager, when I look back, somebody said to me when I took the Elgin job at 30, you'll be 30 years managing various clubs. I would have never imagined it. But I had so much, I suppose, genuine passion and desire and drive that, I could have kept going. Probably could still manage now, it would be a different style. I think it would be a good style. But the achievements go back for the early days of Elgin. I mean, the treble, I think we'd won the league for
20 years.
Whatever.
Yeah.
We were getting close to 2000 at Borough Briggs and the run-in. Great memories. Just the whole town being together and, I remember going and dancing on the pool table in the bloody Ionic and what else? But just dancing, celebrating like no other way.
Aye.
Celebrating, I remember we won a league at Forest up all night in the pubs and hotels at Forest was a wonderful occasion. Again, Forest hadn't won the league for a number of years, in 1986. Just joy. Huntley, too many trophies. I honestly can't remember how many trophies I won there. It must be about 16, I don't know. But it was, and the fun and the laughter, the party, and again, it was shared with the punters, the people. And it just, you can never reinvent the occasions, the joy. And, I had it in lesser ways for Martin. We spells at Forest as a manager. Obviously, after Huntley and Inverness is well documented. Everybody says Super Caley go ballistic, but we won so many other big games and cups and leagues. Unfortunately, Aberdeen is well documented. But just a myriad of trophies and
solid career.
Just
a solid career.
But yeah, it should have been better. It should have been better, and that's a sad admission, probably without a doubt, as a player and as a manager. But hell, I think most folk would take my haul.
We really would. We really would. As I said before,
you just bring the mic a bit closer again.
Sorry,
mate.
For me, being around this area, there's not much that have achieved what you've achieved from being from Mistodlick. You've got to kind of look on that as kind of be proud of yourself almost, Pele, because for a wee tune in the northeast of Scotland, there's quite a lot happened for that 10 Garmouth Road,
No, it's just mind blowing.
Absolutely.
Just how everybody's got a journey, and it's just I've been fortunate. Mine, has been ruled predominantly by football,
Aye.
Well, obviously but it's just it's very, very roller coaster.
That's it. I wouldn't have it any other way, mate.
Quite now, I'm glad to say, and I'm glad that I love being a granddad. That's my favourite.
Yeah,
and I'm not just being corny here. It's a great. I love that part of my life, and I enjoy working with the kids I work with who come from deprived, unfortunate backgrounds. But I was lucky to come to a good mum and dad and family. Aye. Although times were hard, but in different ways, and I'm glad I can do a wee bit for that.
Absolutely.
And I'd see myself. I'd like to get involved in charities or stuff like whether it's talking about the dangers of compulsive gambling. Not so much drinking. I mean, although I'm no recommending it, but I would, I do worry about the youngins now. The drugs in the streets is every parent's nightmare, and I ken that first hand. I work with a lot of kids that are unfortunately involved in county lines and the exploitation and the stuff that's in the street is, I mean, it's killing young folk, you know.
Aye.
And everything. And we're not talking cities, we're talking towns, villages. It's a scourge. There was, going back to the 80s, I think, when heroin came into particularly in the northeast and that. But we're in darker times now in that front, because we're talking so many different forms of substances that are, synthetic and full of crap, and they kill young folk and overdoses, and it's hard to nobody's want to lecture young folk.
No.
I started drinking alcohol when I was about 14, and but it was a far less risk, and I'm not encouraging alcohol.
Yeah.
I'm just saying these are difficult times for young people.
Absolutely.
And not just about the drugs, just the mental health, the resilience. I think we were old school. There was a inbuilt resilience, and things were much harder. We did work as kids all through our childhood, which did us no harm at all. And that's not the young folks' fault. I just feel, society is difficult now, and obviously I'm in the front line, and I know that for a fact. And I just hope folk can be a wee bit more, maybe just listen to older, wiser, and not that I'm one, but advice and we can have a better society.
Absolutely. Yeah. What we're here for.
Sorry, I'll go on my political horse there.
No, you're all right, man. You're all right. 1:11 time before we finish up. I'm gonna read through it.
Make a weekly series. Yeah?
I'm gonna read through it, and then I'm just gonna pick a couple of names out for you, Pele. Simunovic, have I said that right?
Yes.
Yep.
Veron Simunovic
and Bobby Clark as your two goalies.
Yeah.
Jimmy Nicol, Ricky Herbert, Martin Buchan, Gordon McQueen, Tommy Burns, George Best, Ray Wilkins, Joe Jordan, Lou McCarry, Tommy Hutchison, Bobby Charlton, Dougie McCormack, Mo Morrison, Kevin Moran, Roddy Monroe, John Law, and Osh Williams. So we've got George Best and Mo Morrison. How's that night out looking?
Well, throw in John Law and Roddy Monroe on me. Wow. Yeah. But no, I just thought, and the reason I put there's a bit of humour there. There's friends there, and there's. I have played with and obviously managed with so many fantastic players at all levels that I feel it would be disrespectful to put a first 11.
Yeah.
And even that is, I apologise if any player or that, that I've been involved with or blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote that more because there's a wee tale between it and it's quite entertaining.
Aye.
But as I say, I really could not just put down. I found it easier to put players I played with because it's history and it's a long time ago.
Aye.
Blah, blah. Whereas current now, I've been so fortunate with them, fantastic teams, and, I rate them all, and, whether it's for Elgin, Dufftown.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Dufftown was great fun. And they almost broke my record. My record defeats a manager is 8-0, Elgin City, Brechin City. Scottish Cup, drew 2-2 at Boroughbriggs, went down to Brechin, we lost 8-0. I remember taking my cell on at half time, 4-0, telling the boys, this is a disgrace. And did I help? No. 8-0. Did we bother after it? No, we had a fucking great night, party in the bus home. But 8-0 stood as my record. And I remember a game, I think it was out in Waiton, Aberdeenshire. What's the team out in not Kemney, but out wherever out the D-side. And it was 7-0. And I was really worried about losing my 8-0 record defeat. But thanks, Dufftown, we held on to the 7-0.
One of the names I'm going to pick out from there is Tommy Burns. I've never actually had a mention of Tommy Burns in Scotland in their 21s. How good a player was Tommy Burns?
Tommy Burns was a fantastic player. It would, I'm sure, be one of the all-time, you know what I mean? And if Celtic, through the ages, put a best 11, I'm sure he'd be up there.
I think so, yeah.
He was a fantastic, but more as well, a fantastic person, I had the privilege of meeting Tommy. I met him in Hong Kong. I think he played. Was a Celtic doing an end season tour. I think I mentioned that, and I played for Hong Kong Select. I think Celtic beat us 5-0, and was in his company and just a gentleman. And obviously my time the 21s when we went to Prague, I met Tommy as a young player, and he was a great player, but just a great human being. And I mean, God, sadly, I think he was in his 30s, I think, when he died of cancer.
40s, I think it was.
Well,
very
young.
Very young.
But I just thought I was, privileged to, in my book, a Celtic legend,
I've got George Best and Bobby Charlton. How's it like to rub shoulders?
I thought about name and dropping, when I saw Mo and Ian MacArthur and Martin Stewart on the podcast, I'll maybe up that.
A little bit.
Name dropping, so I've got.
Were you in awe of George Best?
The best one is just that he'd obviously, I think he was still, when I went down to Man U, he was playing appearances. I don't know if he was at Hibs at that time, but he was obviously in his well 30s and well past his best. But I did have the honour, I think it was either Wrexham or somewhere down in Wales, and we went to play a testimonial, Man United 11, and there was a few young boys, but I'm sure Best he certainly played half or something. I'm sure Bob Charlton did. But Bob used to come in, used to be involved with the reserves, and he used to come and train with us as a player.
Yep.
And I tell you what, still, he was maybe late 40s, I don't know. He was a big baby loser. He hated losing.
Right. Okay.
He was a winner, and I'm talking 7-a-sides.
Yeah.
So that he was actually a good influence in terms of, train like you play. When it, it wasn't a friend, it wasn't a wee game of 5-a-sides, it was
a proper game.
He was, unfortunately, I think he never really cracked it as a manager.
And
I don't know whether that was his communication or, I didn't know him well. He was obviously a huge idol of the European Cup team at 68, but you could tell that he wasn't coming to terms with retiring. He'd been coming into the Cliff, which was the training ground at the time, and apparently he'd been doing that for years since he retired.
Right.
He would come most mornings and train. He couldn't adapt to life after football. But he's still a player, even in his late 40s, early 50s.
Brilliant.
Kevin
Moran.
Kevin was one of my best mates at Man United, Irish, Southern Ireland. Dublin area, I think, kept campaigning. He, intelligent man, he'd played in Ireland, I think he had an honours degree in whatever, accountancy or something, and came quite late into the game. Wasn't your typical centre-back, and Kev was about 5'10", and, relatively small side for a bit like that Martinez, I think, in Man U now, but he'd been All-Ireland champion of Gaelic, just a legend in that line. So then anyway, he signed up for Man U, and we became best buds in the reserves, and socialised together for a good few years and some great times together. He progressed to become a great player for Man United, legend there, and obviously after that he's done great in his career. He's an agent, but just such a down to earth, just fantastic guy,
Yeah.
Funny, humble, nay airs or graces, and I think he's the same today. He'd be a very wealthy man, but nay, very people's person, I had the honour, he invited me to his testimonial, actually, Man U, Man City, and I think that's the last time I saw him, sadly.
Yeah.
He's obviously a busy man, and I'm not doing him actually a lot, but I remember going and watching his testimonial, and so it was fantastic. He liked to drink like myself, the Guinness, and we had some, used to take back Pochine when he'd been playing for the Republic and that, and he used to recommend it to rubbing your legs, and it was like a kind of, like the old days, you didn't have physios pandering you getting your rubs, but you rubbed this Pochine and he heated up your legs in the winter, frosty pitches, like you'd have a hoop it as well. But yeah, he was a character, and very intelligent man, but fantastic company, and just a solid guy. I had a lot of good Irish. Jimmy Nick was a good. Jimmy Nick. I used to room with Jimmy Nick, who obviously ended up good career away. Management and Rangers, and great after dinner speaker, and funny guy. I think the guy Spiders, Bucky Manager's Spiders married his daughter, I think.
All right, I didn't know that.
But Jimmy was a good lad. Arthur Albertson was the other fullback, my kind of age. But I just fine. Great lads, great stories. Too many stories, I could talk all night,
Absolutely. And we'll finish off with your two best pals, John Law and Osh Williams.
Well, they've been through everything. Without them, I don't think I'd be here. Quite literally, they're lifelong friends. John's actually from Lumbride. We met in Millside when we were 12. And obviously football was where we had a great gang of lads. It was, all my still good old pals, Mike Hendry, Dougie Will, Ainsley Gordon, the late Frank Slater, Les Newlands, a bit I need to forget him. But anyway, we grew up, had a great time when we were teenagers growing up, and John actually came down to Manchester about a year after I moved in 1976. Went to college there, met his wife there, Jen, who's still beautiful woman. I inside knew it, and stayed this day. Manchester comes up quite often, still loves Lumbride, Murrayshire. But I had a great career in teaching, which is another inspiration, because John hated school and left at 15, but graduated and was a headmaster for about 20, 30, 40 years.
That's how it happens.
Some character. Great footballer, hard as nails, on and off the park. But can't speak highly about him. I've had any issues in my life, which we all need. The two guys that have been always there for me has been John and Osh. So, I've been lucky in that respect. Osher, I can't go to. He's just, in my book, one of the greatest guys I've ever met, and always will be. Highly intelligent. He does a brilliant. In terms of what an inspiration for young kids in care, that this guy had the most hellish childhood in terms of a lot of abuse, trauma, but he's ended up unbelievable, human being, and intelligence, and the Disney tie-in, a lot of trauma. I'm not saying we all can have trauma and difficult childhoods, but I mean, he had without doubt, and he doesn't dwell on or talk of that, but it's just, again, I think a positive story about you can put your past behind you and okay, I'm not saying it's easy, but life can be, you can get your life into shape, and it doesn't mean that, and I talk to, young folk that's, unfortunately, nobody should be in care, but you can go on and have,
a wonderful life.
Great lives.
Yeah.
And that's plenty stories of that, and but I'm just saying, Osher, for a guy that how intelligent and compassionate, and he's a very religious, I think, Roman Catholic, and he but he's a lad, he loves socialising, pint of Guinness, blah blah. But again, people person, and he's done a great career in the PFA. Obviously, hugely owed him a massive apology when he moved his family up to Aberdeen, and I blew his job there. But again, never came against, hold it against me. So I just feel lucky. I've got boys like John and Osher, and I think everybody needs go-to folk,
They do.
to lean on when you're, whether it's through marriage breakdown or mental health issues, bereavement. I need folk, and I've been lucky to have the best, so there you go. But I've got hundreds of equally fantastic pals through football and life, and I think that friendship's a huge thing,
Massive. Take you a long way. Pele, take you a long way. if you enjoyed the episode, please give us a wee rating on Spotify.
Peter, rate you.
We've just started up Patreon, so for £5 a month you can support us. It's a price of a pint, price of coffee, whatever you want to go for. You will get a lot of extra stuff with the Patreon, extra episodes per month. Your episodes coming early. You'll have things like access to who my guests are. You'll be able to ask my guests questions. All these kind of things for £5 a month. Give us a wee follow as well on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple.
Okay, I'll buy the company. We'll go global on this.
We're going Amazon or Pele.
No, okay. Seriously, I like how you're doing. I'm off here now. I like how you're doing local, like MacArthur.
Yeah.
Fraser Kelly, Martin Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's
absolutely.
I like it. Loads of folk. Obviously, my tales are quite well documented and blah blah. You know, folk in football and they being big-headed would know about me.
Mm-hmm.
But there's loads of great stories. Even guys that play juniors or welfare football.
That's it.
Fucking great tales. You know, just cracks with boys or characters you've met and
it's football
things
all
they've
over,
done,
isn't
man.
it?
You know, that's brilliant. So no, honestly, I didn't even know. This is how stupid. I mean, I actually watched, Gary Neville's thing.
Yeah.
Snippets of that, and I'm hopeless with technology. I watched snippets because I like Roy Keane and
it's quality.
the boy
quality.
can make
He's brilliant.
They're entertainment. But I didn't realise that these kind of podcasts. This was. I honestly thought it was a week or two more content. I said, "Oh fuck." I thought I could date from my work. I thought it was just on the phone.
We could have,
podcast, I realised it was on this kind of,
If anyone does like what we're doing here, you can get in touch. If anyone does like what we're doing here, you can get in touch with Ryan, Lighthouse Podcast Studio. He will point you.
Football.
No, Ryan can do all sorts of podcasts. This is just this one's the football one. One question I always finish off on, Pele. It's the same question every single time. If you had one penalty that needs scored to save your life, who takes that penalty?
That is such a question. But, I wouldn't ask John or Ross, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I think they'd both fucking miss, I wouldn't want to give them the kind of, that sort of grief, Seriously, and one comes to mind of incredible penalty taker and goal scorer, the guy Brian Thompson had at Huntley.
Yeah.
I took him to Caley, Luggy. He had you talk about a rocket. I mean, he scored goals galore for fun, right?
Aye.
Head, left foot. You talk about a wand. I mean, his goals and the power of free kicks for 30-yard benders. Luggy would be my choice because
good choice, yeah.
I can't remember him missing many pens.
No.
It was an exocet missile, high or low, but just too quick for a goalie.
Aye.
Now, I don't know what the stats are. He may have missed one or two, but yeah, I
trust him.
I would trust.
Yeah.
I would trust Brian Thompson.
Brilliant answer.
Yeah.
Okay. So next up, we've got one of either two of Pele's ex-players. We'll either have Richard Hastings or we'll have Barry Wilson in the studio.
Well, two great guys. Two great guys that I've had, still are friends with. Although I miss seeing a lot. That's the thing. I wish the boy, and I'm in the...
I'll just get move that closer.
Sorry. You still recording?
Yeah, just a wee bit.
Oh, sorry.
No,
right. I'm one of the worst organisers. I'm in a couple of groups now. You know how you get these chat groups?
Yes, aye. WhatsApp groups.
I've got WhatsApp with my mates, Manchester, and one, funnily enough, Dufftown. That's how Dougie and Mo got a game in my team.
Aye.
But they're very good. I can see me doing that if I retire with work colleagues, or they're brilliant things, like, light-hearted and cheer you up, you know what I mean? Because they're all banter. Hopefully some of them do get caught, you know what I mean? But these groups are great. And sorry, what was the question? I'm getting caught.
No, we were just saying who's coming on next.
I know,
and just saying how it's such a small world. You didn't really get a chance.
Guys, it's great seeing local kind of guys that we, Richard will have great stories of his career and Canadian, international.
Yep.
Barry, I mean Bob, Barry's dad and mum. Sadly, his mum passed away. Jessie, she's a lovely woman, and Bob, I think Bob stays with Barry now, and Barry's always been a great, off the part.
Yeah.
A great pal. But they'll have a wealth of stuff to tell you, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
But it's good. It's really good hearing just different players, characters for the Northeast, getting that, and honestly, I'll get Kev to show me how to get the podcast. It's good to follow.
Absolutely, Pele. So, thank you for your time today, my man. It's been our pleasure.
I mean, I can speak, but honestly, I could speak for days on end about certain, just one or two different topics that we've covered today. So I do want to apologise if there's
absolutely no apologies
any guys,
needed.
particularly I haven't mentioned, that have been great for me and are good friends, but so many.
Yeah.
But I've been blessed in that respect. So
brilliant, Pele.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, mate.